Hey friends, this podcast has been long overdue. I have not made an episode, I believe, since end of January. So let me catch you up on my life first before we hop into the topic. So let me see. I did the Malcolm and Marie episode. Got a good feedback for that one. And then so much shit happened. Like my great grandma passed away. A couple weeks after that, my great granddad passed away on two different sides of my family. Your girl was stressed and depressed about that because I was back to back. And then after that, try to get over that, deal with that. I guess I feel like there was nothing for me to talk about, but it was a lot of stuff that I'd be coming up in my mind. I'm I probably should say this. Let me make a podcast. And I guess I just really didn't make time to do what I actually needed to be doing, because I started this podcast for a reason, so I can express my feelings about, certain subjects and certain things. And it has been so much going on in the world. But since then, your girl has graduated. I am a degree holder. Got my associates in applied science with a focus in fashion merchandising. So that happened in May. That was great. That was a big accomplishment for me. You guys have no idea what I went through to get that degree. Literally graduated high school in 2012. Went to Purdue Calumet, which is in Hammond, Indiana. Did a semester there. They ended up finessing me, telling me that my housing was going to be paid for with financial aid. Plot twist, it was not. So I slid up out of there. They would not give me my official's transcript so everything could transfer over when I left there, because they told me I had a balance, but I wasn't going to pay for something y'all told me was covered, and then y'all waited till the end of the semester to tell me it wasn't covered anymore. So after that, I'm okay, cool. I went to South Suburban, did a couple semesters there, and then I ended up moving from that area because of life shit or whatever, and ended up moving out to the Streamwood out there by Schaumburg, and I just worked. I was legit working almost every day. I was working at Foot Locker, then Foot Action and Kids Foot Locker, which brought about my love for, my further love for fashion, because I always loved fashion. And I used to be the girl that was dressing in Brett Dow's and just fashion has always been something that I loved and I always caught my eye. So working at Foot Action, I met people from Nike reps and Jordan reps or whatever, and we would do designs of the Flight 23 side of the store, and it was just doing floor resets and visual merchandising and window displays and changing mannequins, and it made me feel so much alive. And I was okay, I love this. So I was asking the reps, shout out to Mike, I was asking them so how do I become what you are? And they basically was okay, well, I went to school for, I forgot the other girl's name too. I think her name was Jenny. And then Antoinette, my sister, she definitely helped me out. But they were yeah, we went to school for visual merchandising. And I'm I never even knew that was a major. I knew fashion design was something you could do in interior design, but I didn't know visual merchandising was actually a degree. So I was oh, okay. And it was yeah, and then ironically had all worked at a Foot Locker or something like that. And then two people actually worked for this company called Franklin Merchandising, which they outsource people for Nike and different brands to go do change the displays, how stock displays is up or whatever. So fast forward, I ended up leaving Foot Action. I was getting $8 an hour. And I was this ain't cutting it. Ended up going to work at Chase in the call center for 2 years. I was probably making the most money I've ever made in my life at Chase. By the time I ended up leaving, I was making a good almost $20 an hour. So, and I'm okay, I'm living it, but I was so stressed. I had never, I always had anxiety, but I had multiple anxiety attacks at that job. And it was mainly because, one, it was a daily thing. It was you wake up, you go to work, deal with customers on the phone all day, you leave work, go home, eat, relax, go to sleep, do it all over again. And it was like Monday through Friday, and I ended up changing my schedule, and I started working like I think Tuesday to Saturday. So it was stressful. It was like stressful dealing with the company, being like, you know, a young black girl around a whole bunch of Caucasians and different ethnicities and different people. It was just a lot to deal with, a lot on my plate. And it was just like, I knew that's not what I wanted. And there was so many people there who were like 50 plus who were like working a job just because the benefits were good, or they were working a job because it paid good. And I'm just like, this can't be me. I'm like, y'all degreed and talented and all this and that, but y'all just working this job because it makes sense. And I was like, I don't want to be that person. And I was about the youngest person in my department. And I remember sitting there when I was like, I just can't do this anymore. Like, it got to the point where I was just calling off, and then I had FMLA. Like, I was taking so many days off work because I was like, this is not good for my mental. Like, I remember one call, I don't even know what the customer did. And I just like got off the phone and was like in tears. Like, one person had called and like cussed me out, and I'm like, wait, what? Like, I literally had like a full-blown panic attack at work one day, and my mama and brother had to come pick me up from work because I couldn't calm down. So I would like, your mental health is so important. Like, never let a job stress you out that much. Never let a job, I don't care how much they paying you, I don't care how good the benefits is, don't let it happen. Because we get so wrapped up in work and be like, oh, I got to pay my bills. And then you just end up losing yourself, and your mental just like is being attacked daily, especially in the situations where you like don't speak up for yourself and you just allow people to do or say whatever they want to do because you feel like they're in a higher position than you. And that's like, no, don't do it. I don't care how old you are, what type of person you are. Do not let work stress you out, because at the end of the day, these jobs, not all jobs, because some jobs do care about you and do want to keep you because you're such a great person, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of these jobs don't really care about you, and they'll replace you quick. So yeah, I ended up getting fed up with it. And it was just like, I wrote up a resignation letter. I sat down with my manager, and I was like, you know what, this ain't it. I was like, I need to go back to school. I was like, I need to finish my degree. This is something that I have to truly do for myself. And honestly, I probably could have stayed if they offered part-time, but since they didn't and you had to work full-time 40 hours a week, I was like, it's not possible, which was also a better reason for me to like leave. So yeah, I packed up, and I ended up leaving, and I was finally able to go to Harper, which is in Palatine. And then the reason, it was like, I had been applying to go to the school, and I had went to the school, but my financial aid had ended up getting messed up. So it was like roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. And looking back now, I'm like, everything happened for a reason. I'm glad it happened the way it did. I got to experience some things. Like, Chase was my longest job, and that was like a big job. As far as I was there for almost 2.5 years, but that was like, you know, corporate, and it was like, it helped me learn how to talk to people and this and that. But then it's like, it came with bad parts. Like I said, I had panic attacks, and even now, like, I literally hate sitting on the phone with people because I used to do it all day. Even talking for a long period of time, my throat like just starts to hurt. It's just like I did it all day, every day. I'm literally drinking tea right now. But it was necessary. I was able to get into Harper, and I went for visual merchandising because I was like, this is just a path that I want to be on. And the crazy thing is that when I went to Purdue, my major was communications. So as you guys know, I love to write, and my thing was, I wanted to be a newspaper writer. I wanted to write articles in a newspaper. And I remember a teacher saying like, well, you know, that won't last long. Everything will go digital. And for some reason in my head, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I could never write a paper in a newspaper. Not realizing like, yeah, people just gonna go online. But I guess he was saying it's like less people will pick up a newspaper and see the articles or something like that, whatever it may be. I kind of lost interest in it, and I was like, I want to write for myself. And then, like I said, fashion came into my life, and I was like, all right, cool, bet, love fashion, let's do fashion. And it was crazy because before I was going to school, and I'm like, school. But it was like, now that I took my time and I did something that I wanted to do, and I'm, you know, at a point in my life where I actually want to be there, it was like, school was enjoyable. classes were more interesting. I was more excited about being there. Now, granted, it was not a breeze. I had teachers that I wanted to, it was just some teachers that did not care about you, who didn't see you succeeding in that field. Then there was some who were amazing, who really were supportive of me and helping me. Again, Harper is in Palatine. That's like probably 10 minutes from Schaumburg. And it was not, I won't say it wasn't diverse, because there were a lot of Black students at the school. They just were not in my department. So as far as me being in the fashion department, it was probably, I'll tell you like this. I didn't have a Black classmate until my last year. The other year before that, 2 semesters, I never had it was like a lot of the same people that I seen in every class. We were all on the same path, but I just never seen Black students. So, being the only Black girl in a lot of the classes, and, sometimes not speaking up or not, not coming to class, something like that. It was like it was like a look down on me. And even when I tried to express the fact that, as a Black student, and I felt a certain type of way about a particular teacher and how she talked to me and how she kind of ignored me and like kind of, didn't pay attention to me compared to the other kids in the class, which are all Caucasian, they basically kind of was like, no, she'll never do that. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, it was literally like, I'm like, okay, bet. Like, the semester right before pandemic hit, I was like, yeah, this a wrap. Like, I'm done after school. Like, I was literally about to quit. And then my sister was like, nah, G, keep going. Like, I had to reach out to my support system so hard. I was like, I'm done. Like, I was almost in tears. Like, I'm done. I'm like, I can't do this. Like, a teacher failed me for a assignment that I feel like she didn't even try to help with, but there was no help from the person that was head of the department, because she's like, well, you did a bad job. And I'm like, but she didn't try to help me. And they tried to make excuses or whatever. So fast forward, then the pandemic happened, and it was made like a little bit easier trying to do stuff online, but the teachers didn't know how to get stuff together. But the teacher that I didn't like, I had to take her class again. And it was like a fashion show class. And I was like, damn, like, I really don't need that stress my last semester. Like, these are my last classes. I am almost done, but by the grace of God, won't he do it? The teacher, with the pandemic hit, I was able to take an online class because it was like an option to probably have to be on campus. But this was like kind of early pandemic, so they didn't know. And I was like, nope, don't want to do it. And I was able to reach out to my counselor, my advisor, and she reached out to my teacher and was like, okay, bet, we're going to switch it so you don't have to do the class. I'm like, okay, cool. So I was able to take like a marketing class that was like based on social media. And took that class, a math class, and then your girl was done. Like, it honestly feels weird that I'm done with school and I'm not going back. Like, I'm not getting prepared for another semester or anything like that. It's crazy, but yes, I have my degree and I am so happy that I have it. Now I need to like try to get out there in the field while also pursuing like my own businesses and expanding my brand. It's just so much that can like happen in your life that you like at that moment you're sad about it, and then it's like, but boom, years later you look back and you're like, okay, that had to happen. Like, I had to go through what I went through to get to where I am, because honestly my life could have been completely different if I did stay at Purdue Calumet, if I did continue to do a communications degree. There's just so much that life can be different, and it's a blessing that it played out the way it did, and I'm forever grateful for that. So yeah, that literally has been the catch up. Like, I've been, at home. Oh, actually, that did happen. I forgot. I think low-key, I didn't go get tested because I was at home majority of the time, but I do low-key believe that I did have COVID right before my great-granddad passed, or like around that time, because I couldn't go to his funeral service. So that also put like a lot on my heart. And then I was just stressed and depressed, and I was like thinking about death a lot, and I had to honestly, I wish I could have found me a therapist, but I'm trying to find me a Black therapist, and I cannot find one that takes my insurance, a Black female therapist at that. But I definitely was. I had a depressed moment. I had, like weeks, and I was heavily thinking about death, and I felt like it was surrounding me and it was too much, and I just had to talk to Jesus and was like, all right, no, this a wrap. Like, I don't like this feeling. I don't like feeling like this. Like, I need to live for me. You get one life. I need to enjoy it. And I pulled myself out of that depression, and I'm, again, grateful for that, because it's like I started appreciating certain stuff more. Yeah, like, all right, so we're gonna take a quick break. I will be right back. I am going to go ahead and get into the topic of communication, because baby, y'all ain't ready. Clearly they really ain't ready, but BRB. And back to our regular scheduled programming. All right, welcome back. So, thank you for catching up with me and finding out how I am doing. Again, I am in a place right now of looking for a car, which has been a stressful situation. Outside of looking for a car, I've just been trying to be at peace with, graduating, finding peace in my life, finding happiness in my life, being around people who actually, love me, support me, care for me, bring me peace, people that make me happy. Like eliminating people who don't really serve, who don't really serve a purpose in my life. Not that it's people that I've lost contact with, not saying that they no longer serve a purpose, but it's like they're not bringing me any more peace in my life. So I've been like weeding out certain people from my life. I've been trying to like stay focused on my businesses and be more active on social media with my businesses, figure out what I'm going to do about like releasing this project that I really truly want to release before the before the year ends, debating possibly moving out of the state. But that's really up to God and my career. Whatever job I pick in whatever state that it's in, that's where I'm going to move to. So I don't know where that's going to be. And I'm not speaking on it for real because I don't know what I want to do or where I want to be. I don't know what companies I want to work for. But again, your girl got a little degree or whatever. So push me up the line a little bit. But yeah, so I've been really trying to like focus on happiness and finding peace in moments. Like literally today I woke up this morning, and for something like it took me forever to go to sleep last night. And then I woke up this morning, had to make this hair appointment, but it was like supposed to be sold out in like minutes, so I had to wake up early. And then it took me so long to like go to sleep from there, and I'm like twisting and turning. I'm like, oh my God, like I just didn't know what it was. And recently I've been having a dispute with this guy I've been talking to or whatever. And at first, like, it didn't bother me. Then it started bothering me. I'm like, all right, cool. What's going on? Like, I'm like, this is taking, like, too much of me, especially for somebody I'm not in a relationship with. But it was, like, I had to wake up this morning and I'm like, okay, we're going to choose peace. Like, I'm literally going to choose peace. Like, I felt better. I got up, did my skincare routine. I washed the dishes, got in the shower, put some clothes on. Like, I'm like, I just want to choose peace. Like, I watched church and everything. I'm like, I need, like, no matter what I'm mad about or who I'm mad at or how somebody else is feeling towards me, it's like, that don't really bother me right now. Like, peace is what I need. Peace is what settles me, and peace is what I need to be surrounded with. I am not a fan of bad vibes. I am a picker upper. That don't even sound right. I notice vibes. I notice energy. And once the energy is off between you and somebody or people around you, you can just tell. And it's like, I need good energy. I need good vibes. Like, honestly, I could have a million people in my house. As soon as I walk out the door, I'm finna go get that sage. Like, or if I feel like anything negative happened in my day, I'm finna sage the crib, open the windows, open the doors, get some church music, talk to Jesus, my ancestors, and get my house in order. I feel like your home should always be your place of peace. So yeah, big topic has been communication. And I feel like I've always been like, I'm a talker. This is why I decided I want to do a podcast, because I am a talker. And that's probably why I'm also a writer, because I talk. I've always felt like, well, I guess not always, I feel like I'm not the best communicator. I'm working on myself being a better communicator with other people. I used to think that people would just assume that I was mad and they would try to fix it. Or I'll be like, okay, whatever, I don't care. Like, had that I don't care attitude, when really deep down you do care, and you're mad that they don't care enough to try to care after you tell them not to care. I'm that person. Well, I used to be that person. The older I got, the more I realized communication matters. Communication is key in all relationships, friendships, intimate relationships with family, your parents, children. Like, communication is a very big thing. And I feel like in most cases, we were not taught how to communicate. And I say that because I feel like, it's actually funny, I seen this video. It was a TikTok on Facebook the other day, and the guy was like doing stages of his life as a boy to a grown man. And it was like, oh, Dad, I did this. And he was like, well, don't be happy about that. Boys don't do that. Or, oh, Dad, I'm crying. It was like, well, boys don't cry, and blah, blah, blah. And it was like, and then he was him, I think, at 27. And he was like, he couldn't communicate well in a relationship because he couldn't communicate well with his father. And I'm like, that really be, like, that's normal. Like, for us growing up, especially I feel like in my generation, people who are under 30, between like 22, 23, and 30 right now, it was kind of like a, you don't talk about it, or, whatever happens in my house stays in my house type of thing. It's like, you don't communicate what goes on outside of your house with other people who don't live there. And growing up in that mindset, you're just like, okay, so then I don't talk. Or you are in a relationship and you're like, okay, so we don't have conversations. Like, and it's not even just relationships, it's even friendships. It's like certain, friendships, you feel like you're supposed to have full conversation with people and express how you feel. And then sometimes people don't reciprocate that well because they're not used to communicating. So it's like, you can be a great communicator on one end, and then on the other end, you're begging for attention from somebody, or you're begging them to talk to you. And then it drains you because you're putting so much emphasis on them not communicating that it's like, okay, so what do I do? And it's like honestly, I feel like we were not taught how to communicate well, and that lack of communication is a main failure in relationships. I feel like every guy I've ever dated has pulled away in some way when it came to communication. Now, not to say that all of them had communication issues, but it was like, you can kind of tell a person who either is upset or gets angry fast and doesn't just want to talk, and they just kind of shut down. But that's kind of like who we were. It was like growing up, it was like, if you want to talk, you did something wrong, like, I can't explain to you because you cussing me out already, or I'm getting yelled at, or I'm getting whooped. Or it was just like, like, even if it didn't happen to you personally, you've seen it happen to other people, and you're like, okay, well, if I speak up, I'm wrong. And it's even like talking back to adults. It's like, and it's like, honestly, say growing up with a parent and you're like, okay, well, but you did this. And it's like, oh, you talking back to adults? You think you grown now? And it's like, no, I'm trying to get you to understand where I'm coming from and why I feel the way that I feel about this situation. And it like literally carries over into our adult lives, where we're just like either so on the defense, and we're attacking other people based off of things that they say to us, and not realizing that our response comes off harsher than it's supposed to be. Or even like you saying something, and you know how you say the context of a sentence changes based on the punctuation at the end. So it's like, you can be like, I don't care, period. And it's like, that's a statement. Then you're like, but I don't care, question mark. Like, literally the way you say something comes off differently, especially to a person that's already upset or a person that's mad. Like, whatever they're saying comes off in aggressive way, aggressive tone. And it's like communication does not get helped because text messages, social media, like we communicate so much through text and communicate so much through social media that we're not having that face-to-face interactions anymore. We're not talking to people. We're not having in-depth conversations. And believe me, I've been in enough situations, shout out to Deja because she know, that we've had full-blown arguments and fights based off miscommunication. And that's because we're texting all the time. We were texting, and while we're texting, we're having conversation, and something I say come off wrong to her, and without even knowing that it came off wrong, then she say something, and then we back and forth beefing. Like, we legit go, recently just rekindled off of not talking for almost half of a year. And it's like, that's crazy. Based off miscommunication and based off the person misconstruing what you said, your whole friendship would just be gone in like a blink of an eye. And of course, we both were stubborn and hard-headed and petty and didn't want to talk to each other and muting each other on social media and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, that friendship wasn't over yet, so we ended up like rekindling it. But it's just like, I feel like we need to communicate better. It could be a reason why I feel as though all Black people, men, women, and children need to go to therapy, because we are haunted by our past, and our past molds us to the people that we are, and we're so afraid to step out of that shell that we were molded into. We are so afraid to not be that person that our parents tried to raise us to be, and to be our own person and to speak up for ourselves, because we're like, well, if that's what I was trained to do, who am I if not that person? And it's like, it's crazy. Like, I honestly feel as though if we all went to therapy at least once, twice, and found somebody that we can talk to and breathe with. Like, I literally did one therapy session. I stopped it because it was like $150 and they didn't take my insurance. But this made me want to do therapy for real, because I did, and it was like a consultation for like 30 minutes. And when I tell you, I had never ever spilled my life to a person the way I did to that lady on that video. On that video call, because this was during the pandemic, baby. Like, she was like, so how are you? And I'm like, well, Jesus. I'm like, girl, this. Like, I was literally spilling myself to somebody that I didn't even know. But it felt comfortable to talk about things that you're supposed to not talk about. It felt comfortable talking to somebody who doesn't know you, who can't judge you, who can't run next to the person next to you and go tell somebody about you. Like, it just felt comfortable. And I feel like that's also a reason we don't communicate. We're afraid of the words that we say. Okay, let me see how to phrase this. Okay, we're afraid that the words that we say may hurt somebody. We're afraid that we don't know what's going to happen next. Like, if I say this one thing, is it going to take this person to another level? Is it going to anger that person? We're afraid of disconnect. We're afraid of being let down, getting our feelings hurt. Where our pride is so big, especially in my generation. We have the biggest amount of pride. We're stubborn. We have this I don't give a fuck attitude. If you don't want to talk to me, I don't want to talk to you. We blocking people back to back. Like, it's a thing that has become so common, when it's like, it can all be so easy if we just sit down and have a conversation. And I feel like that's probably a thing where people don't like me too much. So I'm like, gee, let's talk. Let's have a conversation. Like, you mad, I'm mad. Let's calm down for a second and let's talk. It could all be that simple. Like, I feel like whatever we need to get off our chest can get off our chest at this moment. And then let that be it. Like, let that be whatever our beef is. Let's talk about it right now. Let it be a wrap. But I mean, and believe me, I understand some situations you can't talk right there on the drop of a dime. Some situations you need to let it, like, marinate. You got to think about what you say, because honestly, having that argument right off the back or having that conversation off the back while you're both mad, you're going to say something you ain't mean to say. Even no matter how mad you are, like, you know, you would have been call somebody a bitch because you ain't mean to say it, but that's how you felt in that moment. So sometimes you do need to take that break, but it's like, after a while, you have to think about what's more important, especially in a relationship. Is he more important than the argument that you're having? Is our relationship more important than us beefing? Like, could we in reality be out chilling, laid on somebody's beach somewhere, me and somebody's son? Or can we be sitting here in Chicago in the rain, arguing and beefing and not talking to each other? It's like, you really just got to choose your battles. It's like, you have to understand how to talk to people. I've always been told it's not what you say, it's how you say it. You cannot come off aggressive to somebody, even if that's your mindset at that time. You have to learn how to control your tone with people, because some people, like, you can say you're not yelling at them, and some people feel like that's exactly what you're doing. Like, I feel like, don't need a sip of tea. It's like, I feel like you're screaming at me. I feel like you're yelling at me. I feel like you're belittling me. I feel like you're disrespecting me. I feel like I'm being talked to as a child. And that is one of my biggest pet peeves. Do not talk down on me and talk to me like I'm a child. Do not talk to me like I don't know what I'm talking about. Don't accuse me of something I know I didn't do. And don't continuously tell me that I'm doing something wrong or that I did something and I know I'm not doing anything. Like, you like, well, yeah, you did this on purpose. It's like, no, I didn't. I didn't do anything purposely. Like, what do you mean? It's just like, we need to learn how to communicate better. And I can't fully blame our parents, but it's like, sometimes parents don't know how to communicate well. It's like, they'll wait and let something boil up inside them before they come reach out and say something to you. And I feel like that's how a lot of friendships and relationships end, because we are holding everything in. That is why writing is therapeutic for me. Poetry and just writing down my thoughts and how I feel helps me breathe. It helps me see or understand more how I feel, because I'm not going to go cuss you out. And the state that I'm in, I'm not cussing you out at all. I feel like me cursing you out puts too much energy on me being mad. Why waste energy and time in an argument when we could just be chilling? We could be laid up right now, but you want to argue. I ain't got time for it. Like, that's why I choose peace. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I wake up and I choose violence, because violence be the first thing on my mind. But other than that, I choose peace and positivity, because, sometimes you just got to get it together, cuss somebody out and come back. And it's really, I just feel like if we had better communication skills, if we learned how to talk as adults without arguing and without fighting, we'd be better. There'll be more long-lasting relationships. And that also has to do with us growing up, because if you grow up in situations where all you see is arguing and fighting, then that's what you become. Like, no matter how hard we say, I'll never be that person, somehow, some way, that person gonna slide into your life, because that's what you're used to. It's just like when we were growing up, we like, I ain't gonna never smoke weed. We all let her high as hell now. I understand why they were smoking weed when I was younger. It makes sense. Liquor too. But it's like you come accustomed to what you see and what you know. And if anger is the first thing that somebody did in the past, that's kind of like, you like, well, I feel like they, their point was made when they yelled, or they got their point across more when they was screaming in my face. And it's like, so I'm gonna do the same thing, because you ain't gonna play with me, you ain't gonna play with my emotions. Like, God, why are we these people? We legit become what we don't want to become, and we continue to work on ourselves. And I feel like that's so big for us to, first step is admitting that we're wrong. And that's hard. Admitting that you are wrong is so hard. And you're just like, no, I ain't wrong. I did my shit right. Like, I'm not You wrong. Don't tell me I'm wrong. But it's like, no, sometimes you're wrong. Not all the time, because I mean, I be right a lot of time, but a lot of times, majority, half and half, you're wrong about a situation, about the way you said something, or about the way you came off, and you just have to admit that. And a lot of times, sometimes you just gotta take that L. Like, sometimes you like, okay, I was wrong. Even if the initial thing that I said wasn't wrong, at some point I start egging on that anger. At some point I cross the line that you crossed, and now we beefing. And yes, I was wrong. But it take a lot to admit that. It take a lot to admit when you're wrong about a situation, because you're like, I'm not wrong. Or you don't want to be wrong. Or you don't want to feel like, you want to make sure people, you want to make sure niggas know they can't disrespect you. You want to make sure they know you ain't gonna play with me, and I'm not the other bitch. That's it. Plain and simple. Like, I can't even bleep out my curse words, because that's how true. That's what I mean. Like, you gotta let them know I'm not the one to be played with. I'm not that other girl you used to mess with. I'm not your ex-girlfriend. I mean, in God's eyes, I'm not the other nigga. Like, it's really, and that's where the anger come from. That's where the beefing come from. That's where why we arguing, because you have to prove to them that you're not the other person, when sometimes you really got to take that L. Sometimes you just really got like, IG, whatever. But I'm not saying, let y'all know, I am not saying taking L in every conversation, because baby, you don't be wrong all the time. You was right, he was wrong, period, point blank, and period again. You ain't got to admit that you was wrong when you don't feel like you were wrong. Stand your ground sometimes. Sometimes you need a good argument, because they ain't hear you no other way. Sometimes you got to go ahead and speak your mind. But, I feel like I could probably go on for hours about communication and how it needs to be fixed, and how we need to communicate better in the Black community. We need to communicate better amongst ourselves, in our generation, in our families, and our friendships, and our relationships. I just feel like even with children, like communicating with them and letting kids talk and, explain what's wrong and explain how they're truly feeling, because we don't know what's going on in the next person's mind. I wish I could. I wish I had that power, that superpower. But then again, that sounds like a burden, to know all the time what somebody's thinking and how they're feeling. And it's honestly, it could not even be you. Somebody can literally be mad at you or have an argument with you based off something somebody else did the day before. And that's just real life. Like, they're mad about something lingering from before, but you're right there and you're an open, easy target. So I'm just gonna, attack you because you're here. And there's nothing you could do about that. Yes, you can try to be, okay, let's talk. What's wrong? What happened? But it's like, some people are afraid to admit when anything is bothering them. They're afraid to admit when they're vulnerable. They're afraid to tell you when their day just wasn't good, because we're just so commonly used to saying, I'm fine, I'm good. Because really, for some reason, we don't think people actually care. That's the main thing. We don't think people care enough to know how we are truly doing. And that's sad, because that's even in close friendships. Like, and I'm a person that does it. I'll have like a close friend, how you doing? Oh, I'm good. But in reality, I'm stressed, or I'm depressed, or I'm mad, or I'm angry. But it's like, I'm not going to put my burden on you. I'm good. Girl, how you doing? Tell me about your problems. I can listen for you. And it's like, sometimes you got to turn out that switch and just like be vulnerable. Let people know how you really feeling, because you don't ever want to get to the point in life where you even on the verge of suicide, or you're like driving yourself crazy because everything that you want to say is bottled up inside of you. You never want to get to that point in life where you feel like there's nobody to talk to. Like, I can't express this feeling to anybody, because there's always somebody out there. Even a complete stranger can literally become your best friend. And it's like, no, let me say, watch who you tell stuff to, Because some people, and I've experienced this, some people will either take what you say and run with it and go tell somebody else. They'll take what you say and console you at that moment, and they'll end up using what you said about your ex and trying to go be with him so you could, like, you know, things have happened. Like, watch who you share yourself with. Now, if you feel like it's people you can trust and you love and care about, do that. If it's like you feel like you need to go pay somebody to do that. But don't bottle up who you are. Don't bottle up your feelings inside of you, because you need to get that out. You need to let people know, I'm actually not okay. Like, let's talk. And sometimes people are like, oh, I really don't care if you're good or not. But then there's other people who like, nah, gee, what's really wrong? And I am grateful for my friends that be like, nah, but for real, you good? Like, okay, girl, let me tell you. Like, I love to have the fact that I have my support system like that. And I feel like everybody needs a strong support system. It literally takes a village. And yeah, I feel like I'll be talking forever. So I'm going to wrap up this segment about communication. I would love to one day bring on a male guest to talk about men and how they communicate or fail to communicate, or how do they feel on the opposite of communication. I promise, guys, I will be back. I will be making more podcasts. I just realized that it was as easy as, instead of me like setting up my mic and having it on my laptop, it's easy to just record them and like record it on my phone. So it's like, I need to stop saying it's like. I done said that a million times. Sorry. And my daddy used to say that all the time growing up. Like, why you say like so much? Who put that in our mindset to think that was okay? Anyway, I want to do more episodes. I have so much to talk about. I want to just be real with y'all and talk to y'all, really. Like, sometimes this is my outlet, and I'm telling you, my goal when I started my podcast was to bring people on and have real life real life conversations with them. So that'll be coming up soon. I'm praying for you guys. Everybody be blessed. Find love, find happiness, especially even if you got to find love within yourself before you find love out there in the world. Find it. Be at peace with yourself. Congratulations to anybody that just achieved something. Happy birthday to anybody whose birthday it is. I'm just wishing success, happiness, and love on all of us. Y'all stay blessed. I'll be back. I promise you guys, I will be back. This is not the last episode for months. I promise I'll try to do at least an episode. My goal is to try to do an episode every month, until I can get comfortable with doing an episode every 2 weeks. So, work with me. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, hit me up. This is My Thoughts, a podcast with Jay. You can reach me on Instagram at _picturemeperfect_. I am Jay Nerdy on Facebook, _all that jazz on Twitter. And I'm on Snapchat, but I don't need anybody to know my Snapchat name. But yeah, I'm out here. Y'all stay blessed. Bye, friends.